Back in the day, I used to watch WWF when we had Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Macho Man Randy Savage, and George the Animal Steel. Now, I don't remember the Von Erich brothers, but apparently they made an impact because of how many of them entered the ring. A24's The Iron Claw is hitting theaters soon, and it features some stellar performances with a heartbreaking story. So put on a leotard, grab a chair, and let's hit the mat. Through tragedy and triumph, under the shadow of their domineering father and coach, the Von Erich brothers seek larger-than-life immortality on the biggest stage in sports. Now, I didn't know this was based on a real family when I saw it, and because I'm not familiar with the family or their story, I don't know how much of this movie is truth and what is dramatized. Either way, though, this is a beautifully tragic film that gut-punched me and then pile-drived me straight into the floor. Now, for the brothers in the Von Erich family, we've got Zac Efron, Harris Dickinson, Jeremy Allen White, and Stanley Simons. Lily James also stars with Holt McCallany portraying their father, and then Maura Tierney as their mom. I'm going to get to those two in just a little bit. Now, Zac Efron is the lead of this, and he turns in what I think is the best performance of his career so far. He is hugely bulked up for the role, but it's really his emotional range, shown subtly and nuanced, that makes this such a standout delivery. As a course of the story, the brothers grow up in a very domineering environment, which I think was fairly common for the time. And they were also largely neglected by their parents, told instead to lean on their brothers for comfort, support, or help. Now, as an adult who grew up under these conditions, Efron's character of Kevin has to stifle anything that goes against the ideals that were set by his parents. And this is shown masterfully in his eyes as he holds back just about every bit of rage, hurt, and tears. Now, it's heart-wrenching to watch because we're witnessing the tearing down and emotional deconstruction of a person until he's just a shell that mirrors the dysfunction of his parents. And then one final note on Efron, he's sporting a tragic haircut that gives him hard, straight bangs that look ridiculous and then make him appear like he's a cousin to Lloyd Christmas just with a shaggy mullet. Then, not to be outdone, Dickinson, White, and Simons also turn in some palpable performances that run the gamut of devastation and longing as they chase the approval of their dad. Now, I love the dynamic between all of the brothers because at times we see a massive camaraderie between them, like ride or die, and then ready to take on the world for each other. But when it comes to their dad's attention and support, they almost become rabid as they clamor over each other for the top spot. And it's a wonderful illustration of what their conditioning did to their mental states, demonstrating how impressionable children are and how much they can be shaped through the withholding of affection or leveraged attention. And that gets me to Tierney and McCallany as Ma and Pa Von Erich. So many times through this story, I wanted to do very bad things to them, just to make them suffer in horrendous ways for how they treated their kids. There's a moment towards the end when one more piece of torment has been delivered, and the words that come from the parents are nothing short of vile cruelness. This is an ongoing theme throughout the narrative, which creates the disgusting cycle of the brothers pining after their parents' affection. I mean, I get it. Times were different. The parents believed that they were making their kids tough and ready for the world by denying certain emotional aspects, when really in reality, they were setting up an entire generation that believed feelings were bad and to be avoided. Now, the film captures this intensely well in ways that I think are riveting, but also horrifying. And then I think this is where the film may lose some people. It's overwhelmingly melancholic and works overtime to put the audience into the bell jar and then seal the top on tight. We're shown blow after blow of darkness and despair, where characters they're taken to the brink of their limits, expertly drawing us into their drama where we can experience the heartaches, the hurts, even the joys alongside the characters. There was a movie last year called The Triangle of Sadness. I didn't see it, but you could name The Iron Claw the Ring of Sadness, because that's what predominantly conveyed through the narrative. But even with all that sorrow of the story, I don't think it's one that will send you running for the razors. There's still joy and even humor that pokes through every now and again to give us a reprieve from the heaviness. Now, the story's on the longer side at 2 hours and 10 minutes, and while there are a lot of patient, even artsy shots that slow the pace down, I didn't get bored with the movie. The filming uses a lot of long, lingering shots that will either sit on a subject close up to then experience their strong emotion, or on a scene that's off in the distance, giving a space and scope of the area, which then creates sort of a detached connection, even though what's going on could be harrowing. Now, a couple of times, I wasn't a huge fan of some of the effects. Like, there's this moment when all of the faces, they're overlaid on each other with some minimal opacity. I mean, it was hard to make out the individual faces and also just kind of created a sort of a blurred mess. Now, I understand what the effect was trying to do in the situation. It didn't totally work for me, though. But the wrestling choreography, that did work. While there are some quick edits to show us different angles of a match, we also get to see moves play out uncut to get just the full excitement of a particular move and then feel the energy of the environment. And the lighting, I think it's also beautifully executed in this. There are many low light interior scenes that play up the shadows, and this creates a somber tone that, despite not much illumination, surprisingly allows us to still view the expressiveness on the actors' faces. Each scene I thought was wonderfully crafted so that it's visually stunning and engaging, helping to reinforce the mood, especially when dialogue was at a minimum. There's also a scene that's shown in the trailer that illustrates the patience of the filmmaking to create a scene that doesn't offer much in the way of in focus visuals, but conveys massive amounts of meaning when seen in context. We watch Efron in the ring bounce between the ropes on opposing sides with only the closest rope in focus. Now, the focus doesn't ever shift, so for the majority of the shot, Efron's very blurry, but the reason he's doing this hits hard during the film. I think because of some information we're given towards the beginning of the movie, there are sequences and plot points that are predictable. Now, the predictability, it didn't lessen the emotion attached because of what occurs, it's tangible and raw. Now, something that was an artistic choice, but also one that I enjoyed, was at times when certain tragedies or violence occur, we don't really see what happened. Most times, we don't even hear any sound that's associated with the scene. What we get is the emotional response from the characters after the incident. It is a bit dramatic when executed this way, but I liked that instead of the audience being shocked by something visual, we're now more apt to be emotionally connected to the scene, which I think is the desired outcome. Now, some of the overall story reminded me of the fighting masterpiece Warrior. I mean, the dynamics are different, but we still watch a deeply emotional family drama play out. With the Iron Claw, we get that as well, just multiplied. And for all of the sadness that we're shown, there's a poignant scene towards the end of the film that not only grants us character growth, but it also changes the trajectory of the story, moving in an instant from grief to joy in a way that's still natural and earned. Had this not been included, I don't think I would have enjoyed the story as a whole just nearly as much. I mean, I'm all for dark dramas and stories that involve sorrow or depressing themes, but I'm glad we're given a speck of the opposite of those just to show that cycles can be broken and lives can be changed. And through it all, we're also shown a story of enduring love that the brothers shared. It was touching and crushing, but tremendous in the result. So overall, The Iron Claw showcases powerhouse emotional performances with riveting emotion and a captivating storyline. The melancholy can be overwhelming at times, and the pace is slow thanks to creative shot choices, but the final product is a haunting story about brotherly love that will rip your heart out, pin it to the mat, then hold it up triumphantly with a sense of overcoming joy and resolve. I can certainly see where some awards nominations can arise from this film, and they would be well deserved. There's sex, brief nudity, a bunch of profanity, and a lot of violence. I give The Iron Claw 4.5 out of 5 couches. So do you have any favorite wrestling-type movies? I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.